Today we're talking about what a deposition is and what a deposition is not. So if you find yourself thinking about a lawsuit or you are getting involved in a lawsuit, part of what you consider is, will I have to testify? Will I have to give a deposition? I've heard about them, I've seen them on TV. I'm wondering what it means, what it entails. Now, if you get involved in a lawsuit, you may have to give a deposition. If you don't file a lawsuit, if you settle a claim before filing a lawsuit, typically there is no deposition. But the question of what is a deposition and what does it entail is something that people outside of the legal community aren't particularly familiar with because they've never experienced it. And if you see it on TV, you might think to yourself, oh, a deposition is like being in a courtroom, being on trial. That's not what it is. A deposition is sitting in a room or on Zoom full of lawyers and being asked questions and giving answers about your case, about your claim, and about the damages that you suffered as a result of the case. So giving a deposition is not like testifying at trial. But what we always tell clients is it is almost as, if not as important as testifying at trial. And here's why. When you give a deposition as a witness, you are put under oath by a court reporter, and the court reporter takes down everything that you say. The attorney for the other side will ask you a series of questions, often much more detailed than you expect, and often much more long and winded and deeper than you might expect as it relates to the case. So if you've been involved in a car accident, for example, and you broke your arm, you might think to yourself, well, the only thing I'll have to answer at a deposition are questions about the accident itself as well as my arm. That would be logical, but that is not always the way it works. Because when the attorney on the other side is asking you questions, they're trying to learn more about you as a witness. They're trying to learn more about your history, about your medical history, your history of injuries, your education, any prior life experiences, any prior legal claims. Plus, and this is one of the most important things, they are trying to assess your credibility as a witness. Why? Because a deposition is an early precursor to trial testimony. And if a case does not get resolved, it ultimately will go to trial. And one of the most critical factors at trial is your likability, trustworthiness, and impression as a witness. If the other attorney perceives that you are a trustworthy, likable witness who will be good in a courtroom and who will give good testimony if the case goes to trial, that will potentially significantly help your case. Conversely, if you testify poorly at a deposition, if you make a bad impression, if you appear not trustworthy, that may negatively impact your case. So a deposition is a question and answer session. It is less formal. It is most of the time not in a courtroom, but it is not less important. If you have questions about depositions, potential legal claims, reach out to us.